There's a guy in his early 40s, lives in a quiet suburb outside Denver, drives a 9-year-old Toyota, wears the same type of clothes every day, doesn't talk much about money. If you saw him at a grocery store, you wouldn't think twice, but he has around $2.4 million invested. No inheritance, no viral business, no lucky crypto trade, just boring habits, repeated for years. This is something most people don't understand about money. Wealth doesn't usually come from big moments. It comes from small, unnoticeable decisions done consistently. And the problem is, those decisions are incredibly unsexy. No one posts about them. No one brags about them. They don't look impressive, but they work. If you look at the data, it becomes very clear. A study from the National Study of Millionaires by Ramsey Solutions, which surveyed over 10,000 millionaires in the US, found something interesting. 79% received zero inheritance. Most didn't have elite careers. The majority built wealth slowly through consistent behavior, not through shortcuts, not through hacks, but through habits that most people ignore because they don't feel exciting enough. And that's what this video is about. Not the flashy strategies, not the overnight wins, but the quiet systems that actually build wealth over time. Hi, I'm Rishi. And if you've ever wondered why some people steadily build wealth while others earn just as much but stay stuck, this will start to make sense because the difference isn't usually income, it's behavior. Let's get into it. Number 1, the looking poor strategy. There's a pattern you start noticing when you study real wealth. People who have money often don't look like it. This isn't accidental, it's strategic. According to research from The Millionaire Next Door, most millionaires live in middle-class neighborhoods. The majority drive used cars, and very few spend heavily on status items. This creates a strange contrast. The people who look rich often aren't, and the people who are wealthy often look average, because looking rich comes with pressure, better house, and once you step into that identity, it becomes expensive to maintain. So some people do the opposite. They intentionally avoid signaling wealth, not to hide, but to protect themselves from lifestyle inflation. Because once people expect a certain version of you, it becomes harder to spend less. This is why looking poor can actually be a wealth advantage. It removes pressure. No one expects you to upgrade. No one expects you to keep up. No one expects you to spend. And that freedom compounds over time. Number 2. Avoiding the logo tax. There's a term used in consumer psychology. It's called the logo tax. It's the extra amount you pay just for the brand name. A plain white t-shirt might cost $15. Add a logo, now it's $80. Same function, different signal. According to research published in the Journal of Consumer Research, people often associate higher-priced branded items with identity and status, not necessarily quality. And companies know this, which is why branding exists in the first place. Now, here's the interesting part. Many wealthy individuals actively avoid this, not because they can't afford it, but because they understand what they're paying for. They're not buying the product, they're buying perception. And perception doesn't compound. An extra $60 on a t-shirt invested at 7% annually becomes around $460 over 30 years. That's one shirt. Now multiply that behavior across clothes, shoes, accessories, electronics. The numbers add up fast. This doesn't mean never buying quality. It means separating quality from branding. And that's a subtle but powerful difference. Number 3, the 60-second money habit. Most people think managing money requires effort, budgets, spreadsheets, tracking everything, and because it feels complicated, they avoid it. But the people who stay on top of their finances usually do something much simpler. They check in regularly, just for a minute, open the app, look at balances, see what changed. That's it. This sounds almost too simple, but it works because awareness changes behavior. A study published by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau found that people who frequently monitor their accounts are significantly less likely to overdraft or accumulate unnecessary fees, not because they're smarter, but because they're more aware. And awareness creates friction. Before spending, there's a moment of pause. Number 4, low-effort budgeting. Traditional budgeting fails for a simple reason: save first, spend the rest freely. Or fixed percentage into investments, everything else is flexible. This is backed by behavioral finance research. A study from the Journal of Economic Psychology found that simpler financial systems lead to higher long-term adherence, because the goal isn't perfection, it's consistency. A perfect system you quit is worse than a simple system you follow for 20 years. Number 5, the first $100,000 reality. There's a reason people say the first $100,000 is the hardest, not because of math, but because of behavior. At lower levels of savings, growth is slow. If you invest $10,000, a 7% return gives you $700. That doesn't feel life-changing, so it's easy to lose motivation. But once you cross certain thresholds, the numbers start working differently. At $100,000, 7% equals $7,000. At $500,000, 7% equals $35,000. Now the growth feels real. This is the compounding effect, and it's backed by decades of market data. The S&P 500 has historically returned around 7 to 10% annually, adjusted for inflation over long periods. But the early phase requires patience, no excitement, no big wins, just steady contributions, which is why most people never reach it. Not because they can't, but because it's boring. There's a mistake a lot of financially aware people make. They do everything right. Max out their 401k, invest for retirement, lock money away for decades. And technically, that's good, but it creates a problem no one talks about: accessibility. Because most retirement accounts in the US are locked until age 59 and a half. Withdraw early and you face penalties and taxes. So what happens? You build wealth, but you can't touch it. Meanwhile, life happens before retirement. Career changes, business opportunities, burnout, unexpected situations. And if all your money is locked away, you don't have flexibility. This is where the bridge account comes in. A simple idea: build a separate pool of investments that you can access anytime. Brokerage accounts, index funds outside retirement plans. No penalties, no restrictions. According to Vanguard's 2024 investor data, households with both retirement and taxable investment accounts show significantly higher financial resilience because they can respond to life changes without disruption. This isn't about replacing retirement accounts, it's about balance. Because wealth isn't just about long-term growth, it's about having options before age 60. Number 7, saying no to promotions. This sounds counterintuitive. More money should always be better. But sometimes it isn't. There are promotions that increase income and quietly increase expenses even more. Longer hours, more stress, less time, which leads to more convenience spending, more outsourcing, more burnout-driven decisions. According to a Harvard Business Review analysis, employees in high-stress, higher-paying roles often experience diminishing returns in life satisfaction once basic financial needs are met. And financially, the difference isn't always as big as it seems. A jump from $150,000 to $200,000 after taxes might only feel like $25,000 to $30,000 extra, but the lifestyle impact? Often much bigger. Some people recognize this early and make a decision that looks unambitious. They stay in a role that pays well without expanding their lifestyle to match every increase. And over time, that gap compounds because they kept their structure stable while income stayed strong. 8. Avoiding the fake rich trap. There's a category of spending that looks like success, but isn't. Luxury cars on financing. High-end apartments with no savings, designer items bought on credit. This is what some researchers call status consumption. A study in the Journal of Economic Behavior and Organization found that individuals under financial pressure are actually more likely to spend on visible luxury goods to signal success, which creates a cycle. Spend to look successful, feel pressure, spend more. Meanwhile, actual wealth builders do the opposite. They prioritize invisible assets, investments, equity, savings, things that don't show up externally. Because real wealth doesn't need to be displayed. And more importantly, it doesn't need to be financed. Rejecting the forever home myth. There's a phrase that sounds comforting: forever home. The idea is simple: buy once, upgrade big, stay forever. But financially, this can become a trap. Larger homes come with higher property taxes, higher maintenance, higher insurance, higher utilities. According to the US Census Bureau, the average new home size has increased significantly over the last decades, while household size has remained relatively stable. More space, same number of people. And that extra space costs money every year, not just up front, continuously. Some people take a different approach. They buy less house than they can afford, not because they have to, but because it gives them margin. And over 20 to 30 years, that difference compounds massively. Side hustle reality checks. Side hustles are everywhere. Online income, passive streams, extra cash, and some of them work. But what's rarely discussed is the full cost. Time, energy, taxes. According to the IRS, self-employed individuals pay 15.3% self-employment tax on top of regular income tax. So that extra $1,000 earned isn't actually $1,000. And beyond taxes, there's time. A side hustle that generates $500 a month but consumes 20 hours is effectively $25 an hour, which may or may not be worth it. Wealth builders look at this differently. They don't chase every opportunity. They evaluate. Is this scalable? Is this sustainable? Is this worth my time? Frugal habits over big wins. There's a belief that wealth comes from big moves, one great investment, one perfect decision, but data shows something else. According to research from Dalbar, the average investor underperforms the market because of poor timing decisions. Trying to win big often leads to worse outcomes. Meanwhile, consistent investors who simply stay in the market tend to perform better long term. This applies beyond investing. Small habits, repeated daily, outperform occasional big decisions, spending slightly less, saving consistently, avoiding unnecessary debt. None of these are exciting, but over decades, they're incredibly powerful. Ignoring the buy now, pay later. Buy now, pay later sounds harmless. Split payments, no interest. But behaviorally, it changes how people spend. A 2023 Consumer Financial Protection Bureau report found that BNPL users are more likely to overspend and take on multiple loans simultaneously because the cost feels smaller. Fragmented. $200 becomes 50 times 4, and psychologically, that feels easier. But the total doesn't change, and when multiple purchases stack, it becomes difficult to track. Minimalist money rules. Instead of complex systems, many people rely on simple rules. For example, always save at least 20%, avoid debt for depreciating items, increase investments with every raise. These rules remove decision fatigue, because the hardest part of managing money isn't math, it's consistency. And consistency becomes easier when decisions are already made. Focusing on unreplaceable skills. Income matters, but not all income is stable. In a rapidly changing economy, certain skills become more valuable than others. According to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report, skills like problem solving, analytical thinking, and adaptability are among the most in demand globally. People who focus on these increase their long-term earning potential, not through job hopping alone, but through becoming difficult to replace, and that stability supports long-term wealth building. Number 15, invisible wealth markers. There are signs of wealth that you don't see. No flashy indicators, no obvious signals, but they exist. Consistent investing, low fixed expenses, no high-interest debt, flexibility in time and decisions. These are the real markers, not the car, not the house, not the brand, because those things can be financed. But structure can't be faked. And over time, structure is what builds wealth. Final close. If you step back and look at all of this, there's a pattern. None of these habits are exciting. None of them go viral. None of them feel impressive in the moment. But they work, because wealth isn't built in visible moments. It's built quietly, in decisions no one sees, in habits no one talks about, in consistency that feels almost boring. And that's why most people miss it. Not because it's complicated, but because it doesn't look appealing enough to follow. But the people who do follow it end up in a very different place. Not instantly, but inevitably. Because over time, simple decisions compound into something significant. And that's the part that actually matters.